The Pythian Castle on Central Avenue has been a Dover landmark for over a century. The building was constructed in 1914 as the new home for the Olive Branch Lodge No. 6 of the Knights of Pythias. The Knights of Pythias was a fraternal order and secret society formed in Washington, D.C. in 1864. It was inspired by the legend of Damon and Pythias and founded on principles of loyalty, honor, and friendship. Dover's Pythian Lodge was established in 1870 during the rapid nationwide growth of the order. Their first meeting hall was located further up Central Avenue in the Morrill Block. In 1914, when the Pythian Castle was built, the Pythians were recognized as a leading lodge in New Hampshire for their membership and elaborate rituals. The building contained not only their secretive Pythian Hall for ceremonies, but also public club rooms, dining spaces, and offices for the Pythians Insurance Company. Its members in Dover included many of the city's prominent citizens, including architect Elva Ramsdell. During World War I, movies were shown here to raise money for troops in France. There are even stories of spiritualists holding seances inside the Pythian Castle when spiritualism was popular in the early 1900s. After the Knights of Pythias moved to a smaller space in the 1970s, the Pythian Castle housed various businesses over time, including restaurants, offices, and auto dealerships. The Robbins family used the upper floors for storage for their auto parts company for many years. Recently, the Pythian Castle was purchased by Derek Fisher, founder of the popular Wingett's restaurants. Derek recently gave Made in Dover a tour of the building and discussed his plans for the building's future.
My name is Derek Fisher and I own Wingett's, 274 Central Ave. And I've been there, I purchased the property in 2016, renovated, and then opened the restaurant in 2017. Dover's been a great place for my restaurant already, and obviously there's a lot of growth and potential for growth here in Dover. I was originally looking all over the seacoast to try to find another location, but unfortunately I couldn't really find or pin down one that made sense. And then I was approached by the real estate agent for this property, 256, 264, and he asked if I'd be interested in taking a look at it. And I was kind of looking for a few different things, so when I came here, it kind of checked off a lot of boxes. And I really enjoyed, seeing the old Pontiac sign on the building every day that I came by here. So I thought that, why not? I'll give it a shot and see what happens. And it took me about a year to purchase the property because there was a lot of ins and outs that had to be in, red tape that needed to be done. But we did accomplish that in June 2023, and now we're in the process of trying to bring the property back to life. The structure itself is, it's been here for a long time, and it's essentially 3 buildings. It looks like 2 buildings, but it's actually 3. I think there was an original brick structure that was a commercial brick downtown building that was probably built between 1875 and 1900. And then there was another structure, wooden structure next to that building, which was a chapel at some point, probably built maybe even earlier than that, but it was a wooden structure. And at some point in the early 1900s, there was a major renovation and they combined the storefronts into one building. And then they had the Pythian, Knights of Pythias in the second, third, and fourth floor. That was the fraternal order. And then I think in the 40s is when the China Yan building was built on, which I think was a Pontiac dealership. Instead of tearing things down and building new, which is great, it's good to leave some of the color and some of the character in the city and try to keep that essence here. So most of I think the wall treatments and the ceiling treatments and stuff on the commercial floors, we're going to try to keep that, and so we don't lose that kind of character. The residential portions I think will probably be more modernized, just because there's going to be not a lot that we're going to be able to reuse as far as that kind of goes. I think it's really important to not erase history, and I think it's really important to try to preserve as much of that as possible, also bring it into the 20th century. That to me is important. I've always kind of looked at that when I go into redevelopment projects with my other properties. I try to keep that in mind because I think it's important. So there's going to be 2 office spaces, so this will be the main office room. And this is an old gas fireplace, and it's just an insert. I don't believe it was ever flued through the chimney. This window right here was bricked. It's bricked up now, but originally this was a window just looking outside, and there was probably a house or a building next door. But when they built the building next door in the 40s, they bricked it up, and that's why it's all bricked off now. So this room's going to be like the conference room, but we're gonna make it as comfortable as possible. Maybe a little loungy, you know. And then over here is just kind of the grand hallway. So you have the grand staircase here, and we have this beautiful tin paneling, ornate tin paneling and crown molding, and ceiling tiles that we're going to try to keep intact as much as possible. The front doorway and all that will be redone, and we're going to bring back some of the wood floors here. So this is like kind of the main corridor, or landing when you come up to the top of the stairs. This is going to be just a hallway at the moment, but there'll be a couple bathrooms right here. Over here is the ceremony room. This will be eventually 3 2-bedroom loft apartments. It's about 20-foot high ceilings. So this is the 3rd floor, which was probably changing rooms, offices, bathrooms, that kind of stuff. Probably for the 4th floor, but this was like a little office area or a changing area where they had robes and different things that they would do for the ceremonies. So this is another office or some sort of meeting room that they had. This will turn into some sort of a 1-bedroom loft apartment, which will be pretty cool with the big windows and high ceilings and whatnot. This was the Crescent Hall. This was a dining room for the Knights of Pythias, and they probably had, I don't know, could have had 100 people up here eating dinner or lunch or whatever. It's actually got a beautiful view of downtown Dover. You can see all the mill buildings all the way over Garrison Hill. It's got a pretty amazing view of downtown because we're kind of up on a hill. So up here was the kitchen space. So these are the old stoves, and you can see where this building had fires. So there's pretty big beefy beams up there. And so this part we're standing in right now is what would be the brick building. So I'll take you outside and you can see the back. You'll be able to see the 2 different buildings. But this structure, I think, was built mid to late 1800s. And then same with that structure over there. I think that might even be a little bit earlier because it was a church, and usually they build church pretty quick back in the day. This was probably an old display case, probably had their menus. They probably had their events and their lunch or dinner menu or breakfast or whatever it is displayed here, and this is probably what they did. Some of this stuff is the old Robbins Auto stuff that was left here. Some parts, I think. And here, let's see. Spring control, airlift. These are, airbags for whatever kind of vehicle, I don't know. Yeah, this one is 1965 through 67 Ford Fairlane, Falcon, and Mustang Mercury Comet. So it looks like compressor mount for air conditioner. Or no, standard steering only, compressor mount, and drive pulley installation. Not exactly sure what that's for, but the belts are good. Jeez. There's still parts in here that are, never been taken out. Not this stuff has never been touched. We did find some old beer cans down in the basement. Somebody had been drinking and throwing them in the wall cavity. Yeah. And then when we started cleaning stuff out, we found them. And so I've never even heard of some of these brands of beer. They're early, probably I'd say 1920s, 1930s, somewhere around there, because I don't know when they started using beer cans, but I would assume that it was a little bit later. And then these are old punch cards from the 70s for Robbins Auto. You can see on the back of the building here, you see an old brick structure there. So that was actually one building at one point. And then there was probably another building, probably right on top of it, maybe a few feet away from it. And when they redid this, they put the 2 structures together. So then they rebuilt it to the way it is. Over here is where this is all gonna be nice and
landscape. There's gonna be a nice walkway here with some landscape on either side, all lit up. So that barbed wire fence will come down. And this will just be a pedestrian right of way. So right now, without that barricade, somebody could park at the end of that, and that's gonna be non-existent. And then we're gonna have a nice green space in this back area here, and we're gonna bring back a lot of the green space in the parking lot that's non-existent at the moment. Yep, it's gonna be a lot, and I try not to lose sleep every day, but sometimes I can't help myself. So I've actually been approached a few times from people that were wondering or inquiring whether they can buy it or if I'm getting rid of it. I plan on keeping it, and I plan on preserving it. So even when I do the residential portion and I have to do something with the siding, it's gonna stay. So we're gonna figure out a way how to keep it where it is and not remove it, because I think it's you know, it's an icon. When people pull into downtown Dover, they know the Pontiac building, and I don't plan on getting rid of it. I plan on trying to keep it around as long as I can.